o'clock, so let's start. Roll call. Brenda will be late, otherwise we have Molly zooming in. And we'll stand with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody. We're going to do the meeting with lights today. And first item up will be to approve the meeting agenda. Anything we need to note on that?
No, we just had a couple additional items since we emailed it out to the Pelican press and school board members. We had a couple additions under consent items of acknowledgements of some staff.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So,
Motion by Gray,
I'll second.
second by Stacy. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing no. Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say. Agenda carries. Opportunity for visitors to address the board. Okay, looks like we are good there. And let's go to number 5, acknowledgements. So we have the 2025 valedictorians. We have William Pesch, Anna Royson, Brody Severson, Mariah Wisher, and salutatorian Daisy Hall. Activity workers for the 24-25 school year. Substitutes from the 24-25 school year. Spring All-State athletes. So we have softball academic all-star, the silver. Track academic all-state, Grace Backstrom, Ellie Carlson, Aiden Checo D'Souza, Andrew Checo D'Souza, Edwin Escobar, Megan Guler, Hazel Hugrud, Ari Hovland, Ethan Eisman, Morgan Korf, Brody Severson, and Jack Welch. So All-State was Aiden Checo D'Souza, and Team Academic All-State boys and girls, they had for gold. Mr. Korf, anything to add there?
Congratulations to our valedictorians and salutatorian. Want to thank all our activity workers for all their time and effort, helping out, making our events successful. Thank you to all our substitutes for subbing for us, very appreciated. And congratulations to all the teams and student athletes in the spring.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's move on to presentations. So we have Mr. Martinez and Mr. Steves for LTFM presentation.
where do you want me?
There.
Okay, go through this every year of what our upcoming, and actually we're well into these lists already. Been clicking along, so we start with LTFM long-term facilities maintenance program. These are over and above our maintenance that we do throughout the school year. So this is stuff we try to get caught up, get ahead, do. Some of it is kind of, we do it every year we need to, and then there's a lot of new things on there too. So east softball field, we already built those new dugouts over there. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive by them. They're just like the west one, turned out really nice for those guys over there. We have on the north end of the football bleachers, we have cement that's cracking up and lifting. We're going to replace it with some aluminum, so it's kind of like docking. It looks like the rest of the bleachers. So that's a project that we need to do yet. We had tennis courts we got to keep up on the cracked ceiling and some parking lots will be done there. Baseball, replace some covers, batting cages, got to replace indoor outdoor carpet for batting on those. We'll roll down to the next one. Elementary, the 2 bathrooms by the office or right by the boiler room, they're used by a lot of the Head Start kids, little kids. We are kind of redoing those, lowering the fixtures like the sink, urinal stuff, because those are pretty little kids that use those. And then we're doing epoxy floor and all new fixtures in those too. The first grade kindergarten at Southwest Door 3, we're replacing that outside door with a new aluminum storefront, aluminum doors on that, just like we've done around that, along that building already. Front landscape, that was a grant that I received at a Masmus convention I was at. We're gonna replace front bushes and sweeten that up a little bit. Head Start, replacing some sinks. That roof duct piping is stuff you see as you drive by. We just always have to keep up on that. We replace and maintain that every year. Courtyards, our trees are growing, so we had to keep those off the roof. 6th grade gets new sinks and countertops. We did a bunch of that last year in 5th grade area. New faucets. That kindergarten floor sensory path, but we're gonna see if we can get that in this year. That floor was replaced last year. We didn't have it at that time, so we'll see if they can put it in now. All right, next one. Should be high school. We do the floors the first week in August. Some doors to replace, although this tuck pointing, this is the last of our 5-year project. So we've done, tuck pointing is when they grind out the grout in between the bricks on the outside of the building. The last part we have to do is the east wall of the Legends Gym. So that is the last of the 5, and we have spent about 50 grand a year on that. So we've done it over 5 years, and it'll be nice to have that done. Security updates are things like card access, camera systems that, cameras are little computers and they go bad faster than they probably should, but we keep up on those. We did some work on a walking track. We had an area where we had a hole in the wall, so we added some FRP panel. This is a fiberglass panel, better wear and stuff. We got that in actually last week. Locker rooms, they just started redoing the floors down there. They can do a new top coat on the epoxy. We always have a bunch of touch-up painting around and painting concessions. We're going to install a front display case. Got to cut the brick, add some glass, so it'll make it easier for them to serve and display what they're having. Kind of more like a theater. When you go to a movie, it'll look like that. Was working with the Mrs. Poach on that, Mr. Tolson, and we got plans, so we're gonna get that in. Some ceiling on some sidewalks, office area, we got some office moves, gonna be painting some stuff. Painting in the locker room, always classrooms and door moves, so these are lists of stuff that you know, we prioritize. Then we also have room moves and daily things that come up and stuff that happens around here. But yeah, another busy year, nothing real major like we've had in the past, but fortunate we have a good work crew, and you guys will be approving all them, so they are really kicking things out. It seems like a lot of staff, and it is, but we have a lot of people that are working. 3 people are filling for a week, so one's working 1 day, 2 days, you know, 3 days like that. But that's kind of how it is nowadays. But they're showing up, doing their work, and they're very reliable. So, any questions on any of that? Went through it pretty fast, but we continue to keep up with things around here, keep a nice looking, safe building for our students and staff and visitors. So, all right. Okay,
Any
thank you.
questions? Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Still drinking my coffee, trying to wake up. All right, so LTFM, like Mr. Steve said, is something that we approve annually. It's a report that we have to show to the state. Program started about 8 years ago, and then really the initiative was to help schools help with all of their building envelope, all of the needs, because we know that in Minnesota we have aging buildings, so it helps to cover some of those gaps. Big update, one of the big legislative pieces that were approved this year is they introduced LTFM piece that approves what's called above the roof line. So in the past, they used to limit us on how much we could request an LTFM from the roof line. Why? Because they know that roof projects are very expensive. New legislation does introduce us and gives us the piece to request additional dollars for any projects for roofing over 100K. So that was a big win for school districts. We're very happy for it. The funding mechanism for LTFM is $380 per pupil unit. So remember when we talked about ADMs or student enrollment, the school or the state turns our student count into pupil units, and they do that by adding the number of paying us at 120% from 7th grade to 12th grade. So our pupil units are always going to be higher than our actual enrollment. I say this at every school meeting, whether it's our levy, our budget. You always hear me say this comment that we are land rich in our school district, meaning that we have a high amount of value of land ownership or property value. And why is that important? Is because LTFM has an equalizing factor that gives the state the narrative to either be funded by state aid or funded by local levy. So because we have such a high proportionate of property value, 100% of our LTFM actually gets funded by levy dollars. So just wanted to make that clear. In terms of the revenue that we are going to receive for fiscal year 27, so believe it or not, we're actually requesting dollars for fiscal year 27. The projects will take place this summer, but again, the state pays us at a reimbursement pace. So the total number of dollars that we are anticipated to receive for fiscal year 27 is going to be $176,000. I'm sorry. In today's board agenda, you will approve what's called the 10-year projection revenue plan. And essentially what this is the state telling us that we have to be fiscally responsible, and every year we have to budget for the amount of LTFM dollars. One thing to know with LTFM is that it does have its own reserve account in our financial books, and we are approved to go into deficit in this particular reserve account. When the program started about 10 years ago, school districts were going very severely in deficit into this particular reserve account, and the state said, well, hold on, we can't do that because essentially you have to make it up over time. So they started giving us the spreadsheets in a 10-year lapse periods. Why? So we could budget more efficiently for it. So the concept is you want to budget as close as possible as you can into the revenue that you are projected to receive. If you are going to go into deficit, you have to let the state know ahead of time why you're going into deficit, request pre-approval to go into deficit, and then provide a corrective action plan on how you're going to get into deficit within a 3-year funding period for your LTFM reserve account. So again, in this report, in the revenue, because it does have to be approved by the board for fiscal year 27, we're going to receive $176,000 into our LTFM projects. Let's go on to the next page, Jen. Okay, so we take everything that Trev just gave you guys, and then we cost it out. We start working with vendors, start looking with service providers, and then we cost everything out. And essentially what we do is then we budget the amount of revenue that we're going to get minus the expenditures that we are anticipated to receive, and then we get a reserve. So starting the year, we actually have about $22,000 in our LTFM reserve budget. We're going to receive $176,000 into our LTFM account. We're going to spend $168,000, and then we're going to hopefully end into a net of $30,000. Okay, so that's how we budget for LTFM. In the fall, hopefully Charlie will have then a follow-up presentation for you guys with pictures of all the projects that we've done. So, again, this is a report that you guys will have to approve today, and I'll entertain any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. So we have some meetings then with Minnesota Leaf Benefits.
Great, so today I get to share with you guys a few of the different benefits provided to employees within the state of Minnesota in regards to extended leaves for the most part and sick leave. First, we'll talk about FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act. This is for eligible employees only, so we'll talk about what that means, who work for covered employers, which we'll also talk about. That allows them to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid or paid job protected leave for different reasons that are specified, and continue their health insurance. An eligible employee must work for a covered employer for at least 12 months before they're eligible, and within those 12 months they have to have worked at least 1,250 hours. A covered employer is a public or private school or public agency, or a private employer who has at least 50 employees during at least 20 work weeks in the current or previous calendar year, and those employees have to all work within 75 miles of the work location. So they make it really clear and easy. Employees apply through their employer, so if somebody needs to be gone, they would contact me in the district office, and we provide them with paperwork, oftentimes it's paperwork that they have to take to their healthcare provider to complete that states what is necessary for them. And then, like I said above, it's only required that the leave be unpaid, but if they have leave available, then it could be paid. So it really depends on the employee's paid leave plan. There's one more. This has been around for quite some time and is provided by the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division. So this doesn't say how much leave or anything, or how much paid leave, anything like that. This really just provides them with job protection and ensures that they continue their health insurance coverage. Then we'll go on to ESST, which is the Earn Sick and Safe Time. This is newer within the state of Minnesota, came out in 2023, and this is a specified or required amount of paid leave, specific to like sick leave, that an employer must provide their employee for certain reasons in Minnesota. You do have to be an eligible employee, and that simply means that we must, as an employer, must anticipate that you'll work at least 80 hours in that year, and you can't be an independent contractor. So for example, our varsity officials are all independent contractors, so they wouldn't qualify for ESST through us. Somebody who works at a sporting event for us and they only work at one sporting event, for example, track. If they work at just track meets throughout the year, they're not gonna get 80 hours, they wouldn't qualify. The biggest change for us as an employer was that our substitutes then qualified for sick leave, or ESST. And this really is for all employers within the state of Minnesota. This was put in place to ensure that employees in Minnesota were receiving sick leave, and that they receive it in a certain amount or accrual amount. Our sick leave that our teachers, paras, all of our regular school year staff, our 12-month employees, all of their sick leave that they earn and accrue monthly was already meeting the requirements of ESST, so there's no change there. The biggest change, like I said, was for our hourly paid employees, our substitutes, and they accrue ESST based on their hours worked, which is 1 hour of sick leave per 30 hours of work. And there's, we have it built into our payroll system, so each pay period, when I process time, I also do a step that processes their ESST accrual. And this, like I said, was provided in 2023, and that is from the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. It has kind of been ever changing, like there have been quite a few updates throughout the years, last couple of years. And finally, we're gonna talk about paid family medical leave, which is probably something you guys have recently heard about. Locally, it is going to be new, starting in January of 2026. And this is partial wage replacement and job protection for employees taking leave, basically 7 or more days of work combined, for various family medical reasons. You do have to be an eligible employee and employer, which is pretty much everybody in the state of Minnesota for the most part, except for federal government employers, self-employed individuals, and the employee has to have worked for the employer for at least 90 days. It does cover medical leave for 12 weeks and family medical or family leave for 12 weeks with a combined maximum of 20. So for example, if somebody's out for their own medical reason and then a family member ends up out too, they're not gonna be gone for 24 weeks. It would be a combined max of 20 for that benefit year, and the benefit year would start at the beginning of the first leave. This will be a required tax that will be deducted through your payroll. So every check starting in January of 2026 will be taxed for the employee and employer. And in 2026, the amount is set at 0.88% of taxable income. At least 50% of the amount due is has to be paid by the employer, and the remaining amount paid by the employee. Like I said before, this is deducted from every payroll. That's regardless of if or when you use the benefit. So it's not something that, oh, I need to take paid family medical leave, now I'm gonna start paying the tax. Everybody will start paying January 26th. The payment is based on how much you normally earn. So if you request to take paid family medical leave, you'll request it through the state, a lot like Minnesota unemployment. It'll be kind of through the same steps or similar steps. And that payment based on how much you normally make, most people will receive between 55 to 90% of their regular wage, and it's based on a state average that will be updated annually. Currently, it's set at $1,372 per week. So essentially, the lower the income, the higher percentage of payback they'll receive, and the higher the income, the lower percentage. A lot of people look at this as being similar to short-term disability, so there's a lot of discussion about what plans will remain for employers, or that employers provide for short-term disability, and what will not because of this. And again, this is new, coming in 2026, and this is through the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. I'm going to the next one. One more. So FMLA, like we talked about, is job protection, paperwork that they fill out, healthcare provider fills out through their employer that provides them the job protection for qualified leave, continuing their insurance. ESST, earned sick and safe time, is how much sick leave the state requires the employer to provide. And paid family medical leave coming in January is a payment, job protection, and similar to short-term disability. All three of these benefits can be used in conjunction with another, depending on the individual's eligibility for each different one, I guess. Any questions? I believe there's one more slide maybe.
Anybody have questions?
All right, thank you.
Thanks. So, Mr. Nelson, you got an elementary report for us?
Good morning. We had 285 students had perfect attendance in May, so finished strong again. Fun to see the students get the excitement of getting a little reward. I sat in a webinar yesterday on attendance, and one of the things they talked of some type of rewards for the ones who have good attendance. I thought, oh, we're doing one thing right, so that was good to hear. I want to thank Anissa Berg for her work as a para. She's going to be subbing for us moving forward in the future here. Teachers completed the Unit 4 letters training on May 22nd, so the first 4 units are done. And they've been working hard in the new language arts standards. We've had many groups in. They do their first grade level they meet, and then they'll meet with the grade above them and below them with the scope and sequence to make sure we're not having gaps in our, while we're teaching language arts with the new language arts standards that are going to be put in place for next year. And then with our Reading Corps, Reading Corps is a federal program that is in our building. They're not run by us, but they're in our building. We had 10 students who scored high enough to graduate out of that program, which I think is the highest we've had. And so I want to thank Claudia and Jessica for their work, and they were very dependable there every day, and that's why we saw such growth, is that consistency for those students. And so those 10 students will be out of the Reading Corps for next year. So, any questions?
No, I don't hear any.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Staniszewski, you want to be here?
Yeah, I'll do a report.
You want to go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that. Okay, high school report, a few things here. For summer meals at the high school, I want to thank Mrs. Poach and Mrs. Justin for their work in providing healthy meal options for all kids 18 years and younger at the high school. Meals are served Monday through Thursday through August 15th. Breakfast is served from 8 to 9:30 and lunch is served from 11 to 12:30. Summer school started on May 27th and it ended on June 12th, so thank you to Mr. Weir, Mrs. Corp, and Mr. Hogwood for helping students complete credits in math, social studies, and language arts. Thank you to Mr. Sturdivant and Mr. Schaefer for their years of service and commitment to the district. Your impact in the classroom, on the court, and on the field will last a lifetime. So thank you to Mr. Sturdivant and Mr. Schaefer for the years of service here at ISD 54A. Summer projects, and for this coming school year, student and staff handbook updates they're working on, finalizing the master schedule, staff development topics, developing an updated cell phone policy and collection procedure, and support Mr. Cozen in his new role. So there's the high school report.
Thank you. So we have a new student school board representative. Would you like to introduce yourself to the board?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Ikram Mohammed and I'm an upcoming junior at Pelican.
Okay. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Yep. We didn't want to task you with a report quite yet. Okay. All right.
Ikram's very involved in activities, works hard, great attitude, has a lot of friends, very involved with not only activities but with a lot of different groups. So she'll bring a lot of good energy, and I want to thank you for being a member of the student school board. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, you want to present again?
Yes. Here we go. Just want to add to Ikran's new role as assistant coach of the U12 soccer team. So thanks for helping me coach. All right, I'm going to try to speed a lot of the reporting up just for the concept of time. Since we got a lot to go through, but primarily we have our treasurer's report here. We have 2 consolidated months into one. I'll go very briefly here, but I will entertain any questions. Again, this is our budget to actual comparison. This is for the month of May. Gives us a view from where we are from our approved budget to where we are in terms of revenue and expenditures. I added a new column for you guys a couple months ago just to kind of give you guys a comparison value of where we were in the past to where we are this year. So our budget was approved for $17 million. As of May 31st, we have recouped $15 million. That includes the second half of our levy that came in May. For comparison wise, last year at the end of May, we were at 92% of collected revenue. This year we are at 89%. So a little bit behind, but we're still on marker to get to our targeted revenue. In terms of expenditures, we approve a budget of $16 million, $6.8 million in expenditures, and so far we have about $14 million in recognized expenditures. Last year we were at 89%. This year we are at 85%. Okay. We have one last month of our operating budget cycle, which is the month of June. So this number will go up dramatically, and the reason why it will go up dramatically is because we go through a period called pay-ups. And what we mean by pay-ups is we pay our employees until August 31st, but we have to recognize those expenditures in our fiscal year, so we bring them back to June 30th. Okay, so you will see that number go up significantly. Any questions on our budget to actual before I move on to the second page? Okay, let's move on to the second page, please. In the second page, we have our the budget to actual for the month of April. But again, like I said, I'm not going to spend much time here because these numbers are by now are outdated. Just kind of giving you a synopsis that we were at 66% versus 70 and 78% versus 83%. So let's move on to the other page, Ann. In terms of our cash flow, again, cash flow, this particular report gives you money come in, money gone out, okay? It really measures the efficiency on how we manage our cash on hand. We started our investment account with $4.5 million, of which we received $2.7 million in revenues. We withdrew $508,000 from our investment account, ending our investments at $6.8 million. Cash on hand in our checking account, we started with $120,000. We received $1.7 million into our account. Total accounts payable, total bills for the month of May were just a little over $700,000. Total payroll was $418. Adjustments were $308, and I'll go into adjustments here in a little bit. For total cash on hand for $368,000 in our checking account. Total cash on hand investments plus checking account were just a little over $7 million. Big rocks that happened in the month of May was the second part of our levy. So second part of our levy comes in, and that is what we approved the previous September. Okay. We received the levy dollars into our checking account, and then what I did was I transferred it over to our investment accounts. Why? To capitalize more on dividends and interest. Okay. Questions on any of the cash flow statement? Okay, perfect. Then we'll move on to the next page. And again, this is just the cash flow statement for the month of April. Just giving you guys, again, a synopsis that we ended our investment account with $4.5 million, $120,000 in our checking account for $4.6 million total cash on hand. You see from April to May a significant increase in dollars, and that has to do with the levy that we received. Okay. Questions in April? All right, we'll move on to the next page. Okay. Between now and September, you're going to see lots of journal entries. And that has to do with our bulk cleanup. So we just recently finished a food service audit. So with the food service audit, again, the USDA and state of Minnesota come and they audit our food service. They go through everything from operations to dollars received, dollars gone out. They come on site. They make sure that we're operating everything in terms of serving students, the amount of food we're serving students, the quality of food. I mean, they go through everything. But essentially at the end, we also have a fiscal piece where they go through our books and they go, oh, you know what, these didn't particularly qualify for the grant, or you need to do this. So the first journal entries that you see here is our auditor saying, oh, you know what, this particular expenditure didn't meet the fruit and veggie grant, so you need to move it out of there. The second one, same thing, it was, oh, we found some expenditures that don't classify for this particular grant, so we gotta move them out of there. And then if you scroll down, and same thing here. It was some expenditures for labor costs that didn't meet a specific grant that they asked us to move out. And then this is the levy transfer from our checking account into our investment account, just to capitalize on that. So now that the special session for our education bill is now has been signed into law, you're going to start to see a lot of the cleanups, a lot of the work that we do start getting ready for our audit engagement. The last 2 months, I'm not going to spend any time on it, but it's practically 2 months worth of payables that go through all of our checking accounts. Okay. Any questions regarding the treasurer's report for 2 months? Okay. In today's meeting, you guys get to approve the fiscal budget for fiscal year 26. I hope you guys had a chance to read through it. We put a lot of work through it. It's about 6 months worth of work. Gives you guys a bird's eye view of everything that administratively and board we are working towards, and how do we very responsibly budget our dollars. So if we go down the page, this is just introducing our district officials. So thank you for your service. We'll keep going. This is just introducing to you guys the administrative staff. We do have one change. You'll see that our Dean of Students and Activities Director is now being introduced into our executive summary for budget proposal. We'll keep going. This is our strategic plan that is currently in place for the school district. So I'm just taking it and giving you guys that we budget based on meeting all of this that's within our strategic plan. So we'll keep going. Okay, still part of our strategic plan. Okay, perfect. This is just Mr. Korf giving the district-wide very good narrative of what his vision is. It was also published in the Voice, which is our school newspaper, so a pretty good edition. It's right behind there. If you guys haven't read it, I would say take one today. A lot of work that goes into it. We'll keep going down. Perfect, so this year I introduced a little bit of a narrative to give you guys an idea on how to read the budget. Gives you just a quick summary of which of our funds is, what it is, so it helps you read the budget. If you have any questions from the public that wants you to go into detail of things, you can go ahead and show him this document, or you may so then answer the question. Okay, we'll keep going down. Okay. This year I introduced this new concept, which is expenditures by program, and I'll go into detail on the last few pages of what it is. So in the finance committee, I share with them the complexity of the budgeting process and our accounting, because we have to account for many different folks with many different regulations, and then we have a significant amount of categories. When we look at our budget, we look at the high level. When we look at expenditures by program, we're able to give you guys a different view of the budget, but identifying how we allocate those particular dollars. and I'll go into what it looks like. This gives you again a quick narrative of which each category by program is, so if you have more questions on it, you can go ahead and go into this narrative. And then we'll go to the second page of this, and then again, because we have so many different ways that we can see our budget, you can see it from a department standpoint or from an object standpoint, and I'll go into the differences here a little bit. But the main thing for us today is to approve an operating budget for fiscal year 26. When you look at the budget narrative, it'll tell you that there's 3 years that we account for, right? How we ended last year, which is audited actual financials, how we're going to project we're gonna end this year, and how we're going to estimate that we're going to end the following year. So, with that said, our general fund, which is our main operating fund, currently has $3.2 million in reserves. We are hoping to collect $12.6 million in revenue, of which we're going to budget expenditures of $12.65, ending with reserves of $3,242,000. So we're still in that sweet spot that our revenue is higher than our expenditures, which is very good. Our food service fund, you can see how it's going to go in here. You're going to see a slight decline, and that decline has to do with meals being reimbursed and the rate of what we are being reimbursed. So in the current legislative bill that you guys saw that just went into law, the free universal meal program that was introduced a couple of years ago, still going to offer students free meals. However, the reimbursement rate has gone down. And I'll go into more detail on some of those impacts that are going to be. The USDA hopefully will try to cover the difference, but that was signed into law. Great program to have, but the rate of reimbursement is going down. Okay. Community service serves our greater community, everything from ECFE, which are early childhood classes, to summer rec, to many other items. You can see this particular fund being very fiscally managed, going from $148,000 to $151,000. Construction, we ended the last year we had $62,000 in reserve, which we knew we were going to have a residual value. This was from 3 years ago when we did the parking lots over at Chauncey Martin, and then we used the residual dollars to help cover the development of the entryway here in the front. We no longer have any constructions, so eventually this will sunset until we have another construction project, of course. Our debt service, think about it like our mortgage. So when we introduce any type of public debt, we have to pay it back. Here is the amount of reserves that we have, $183,000. We're expected to receive $2.2 million, of which we're gonna pay just a little over $2 million, and you're gonna see the reserve particularly grow. And the reason why it grows is because the state pays us at 105% of our actual debt payment. And they do that because we have to pay many other fiscal concepts of it. So we have to pay the people that manage our debt every single year, in addition to any additional debt service fees that we might incur throughout the year. Trust fund is our scholarship fund. So you can see our scholarship fund from last year has dramatically grown, which is phenomenal. Job to Mrs. Lage and Mrs. Janszewski, who have really paved the way to engage with the community so we can get more scholarships. And thank you to all the donors. As you guys saw on the news, on our newspaper, just a little over $90,000 were awarded into students. That is phenomenal to have in our school district our size. Student activities. This is the student activities from all of our all of our fundraising accounts, all of our sports accounts that coaches and advisors, couldn't think of the word, and advisors go out and fundraise for specific things for their student activities. Okay, so total operating budget, this includes all of our funds, all of our inter-district funds. We currently set at $4.4 million. We are set to have $16 million in total revenue, $16 million in expenditures, leaving us with $4.6 million in reserves. So, pretty good place to be on. I'm gonna stop here before I go into another bird's eye view on slicing our budget into different perspective and explaining to you guys what it means, how to read it. So questions regarding our proposed operating budget?
I don't hear any.
Okay, let's go down a page. Okay, perfect. So in this budget narrative, again, I go through everything that we do from an administrative point down to legislation in our finance committee. So we met with our finance committee in March to talk about all the different pieces that we were going to include in our operating budget. Our budget starts as early as September, you guys, and it starts with the process of our levy. So in a couple months, you're gonna hear me back up here, and we're gonna talk about the amount of dollars we're going to levy for. That is the first step of our budget. Mr. Korf has shared with you guys practically our calendar agenda of what we do every month. And in that month, you see all the pieces that we look into. So we start really talking with our staff as early as December. We start engaging our principals. What are you gonna need? Meet with your leadership teams, meet with your PLCs, meet with your teachers, bring that information back to us so then we can cost it and then we can put it into our operating budget. And we go through that again for about 3, 4, 5 months. We present to the finance committee. We get the finance committee recommendation, which this budget does have. Then we sit in our desk and we monitor any legislative changes. And as you guys know, this particular session was a tough one. And it's only gonna get tougher. And I mean that in the most sensible way, that although we receive a little bit of increase in funding, it does come with a big $420 million budget reduction into public education in fiscal year 28 and 27. So the next 4 years are going to be very tough when it comes to public education funding. Okay. With the current biennium budget, so fiscal year 26 and 27, they're saying, oh, great progress, great things in some areas, but the state as a whole is projected, again, was projected to be into a little over a $2 billion deficit for fiscal year 28 and 27. So that is why they're looking into all the public sectors so they can try to, the state balance their budget. Here are some of the things that will impact us, right? Again, the first bullet points talks about the funding formula increase, the allocation into public education, but just do know that the devil's in the details. There's going to be again $420 million in reductions in fiscal year 28 and 29. We fought hard to try to get the funding formula to actually be tied to true inflation. So the current statute in place says that the funding formula is going to be tied to inflation, but it gets capped at 3. And that happened this particular, the second year in our biennium, where inflation was at about 3.2, but the state was like, well, it's over 3, so we're only gonna pay you 3. We lobbied hard to try to get that to actually match the true inflation, didn't pass. And again, why? Because the state wants to balance their budget, and where they look at, they always look into public education. Other things that are gonna impact us, of course, is gonna be special education. There's gonna be a reduction in the reimbursement for transportation. They also established a blue ribbon cutting commission that's going to look at trying to save the state $215 million in special education savings. This is a big one to worry about. We don't know what it means. No one has really got into the details of what it means. MDE doesn't know much about it. They just know that they've been tasked to try to figure out some 250,000 savings into that. And again, this comes from the narrative going all the way from the current administration coming down, right? Because we know that special education is under the federal protection. Some of that funding is being cut, which means the state then has less revenue to try to provide for special education. So what it means, I don't know, you guys. I don't know the areas that are going to be impacted. In the next 2 years, we're going to start to find out. Library and student aid that was introduced a couple years ago is being reduced. Again, it was a low-hanging fruit that legislators were like, well, you know, let's just cut this. Other pieces that are big for us, let's go down, I'm trying to look for it. Let's go down to page M. Perfect, so compensatory was huge for us, so this was the one that really had me very stressed and worried. Compensatory, we receive about $1.3 million in revenue. The way we get funded for it is all of our all of our English learning students, in addition to our free and reduced students, help us generate dollars for this. 2 years ago, legislation that was introduced took out of the equation lunch applications, right? So in order for us to classify a student into a free and reduced category is by 2 ways. One, which is a direct certified file from the county because that family is receiving some type of county assistance, or by the family applying for educational benefits through the lunch application. That's how we qualify a student into that free and reduced category, which then generates funding for us. Well, somehow legislators thought that it would be a good idea to take that piece because they said, well, the direct certified files should already give you that information. Well, no, because there's still so many families that don't receive benefits and are still within that margin to be into the free and reduced category. So they took out the paper application out of the equation, which netted us about $320,000 in less revenue and compensatory. So I was really stressing out. What was passed in this legislation was for fiscal year 26, they're going to approve a one-time allocation of $50 million that hopefully will help cover that deficit, but they didn't fix the problem. They just said, oh, we're going to introduce a task force as well to figure out how we can make this funding program better. But they're only going to allocate $110,000 to this task force as opposed to fix this tremendous issue that we have for compensatory funding. So I don't know how that's gonna work. So, we take everything that was signed into law, which again was very delayed. They should have ended in May 19th, but we know that neither side of the aisle was meeting and playing nice, so it got pushed into special sessions and it got approved in June 10th. Today, Kathy Erickson, the finance director for MDE, is actually going to make her rounds to try to put all this new legislation into actual. So today, Mr. Korf and I go to Lakes Country Service Co-op to hear about all the new funding pieces that Kathy Erickson is going to introduce to us, which means, and I'm going to plant the seed, that later in the year we will have a revised budget. Because all the new calculations, or I should say some of the very detailed calculations that the new legislative biennium bill has, hasn't been accounted for at the state level yet. We have the bill in paper, we just don't have the fiscal impact yet, and we don't have what that means for us as of yet. Okay? Then we'll keep going down. I'm not gonna go through the 16 pages, you guys. I'm just gonna give you guys some pieces for you guys to entertain. Again, we had a analysis done by TeamWorks regarding our enrollment. You can see our enrollment trend. One thing to note though is I have ADMs versus actual head count. So please note the difference. But again, you can see our trajectory and path and where we are trending, which was then validated by TeamWorks in terms of the primary reason for our student enrollment as of the last couple of years has to do with birth rates in the area. So if you read the report, that is the primary cause of it. Okay, we'll keep going down. Here is the budget, again, just reintroducing it. Now we go into what I introduced earlier in the budget narrative, telling you guys how to read this, right? So here's our total operating budget, right? $16 million. When we look at program, I'm giving you guys the same expenditures, but now I'm telling you guys, oh, look, out of the $16 million that we're budgeting for, here's how we're allocating by program. Okay, we'll keep going down. Okay, some of you guys are visual, so here's how we allocate on a pie chart, percentage per, this is revenue, down here is expenditures. You can see how we budget. Majority of our expenditure goes into regular instruction, which is, we are an educational institution, all the funding has to go there. Okay. We'll keep going down. Okay, same budget, different lens. Here's how much we're going to put into salaries and wages, purchase services, debt services, employee benefits, so on and so forth. Okay, if we go down, probably over 50% of our budget goes into human capital, salaries and wages, which is what we want, right? We're here to teach, we're here to educate students. Okay, keep going down. Fund balance, again, gives you a little bit of a synopsis of what it is, what we go through, what's in place, what policies help support this, why we do it. It kind of gives you a narrative of where we're going to be in the next 2 fiscal years with some of those new legislative pieces that were introduced. So you have 16 pages to read on your time off. So as you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Mr. Corp and then we'll get you guys an answer. But I'll entertain any questions right now.
Any questions for Rudy? Think we're good?
Okay. A couple of other things that are going to be in the board agenda that we need your approval on, of course, is going to be the audit engagement letter by A. Bailey. Believe it or not, we're going to start the whole process again. So we start engaging with them. Our audit is going to take the first place in September, which is very unfortunate because it's a very busy time. We have students coming back, we have teachers coming back, and then we have the audit on top of that. So fun times in September. Of course, we went through our treasurer's report, we went through our LTFM reports that we need your approval on as well, and then the most important thing is our proposed operating budget. So got a couple of things for you guys to entertain today, and like I said, we're always open if you guys have any questions. Please email us and we'll get you guys the answer. Thank you for your time.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
So for the motion for the proposed budget, how should we word that, or is there a dollar amount?
No, you can just say approval of the fiscal year 26 proposed budget.
Yeah, the one that was proposed.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, Mr. Corp.
Okay, a few items here. First, enrollment, we ended the school year with 808 students, which is good, and October 1st enrollment was 809, so we were one short from October 1st enrollment. Summer activities update, just a lot of activities being offered here throughout the summertime. A lot of the activities are offered during summer rec from June 2nd to July 10th. So we got a couple weeks left, so everything's going well. We're very thankful for all the staff that we have that are putting in a lot of time, hours, and sweat working with our students, which is good. A couple items with special ed, co-op update, just so you know, this last meeting was Mrs. Erickson's last meeting, Shannon Erickson's last meeting as the director of special ed. Our new special ed director was there, Allie Bruckman was there, so she introduced herself and we welcomed her and very excited to be working with her. A couple other items with special ed co-op, they're trying to secure mental health staff for their EBD classroom, so they're hoping to have a plan for mental health support for our students starting in the fall. Just a reminder, I talked about the last meeting with the special ed co-op, our administration time for next year has been reduced by 0.3, so special ed director is a 1.0, and then we have two special ed coordinators that are less than 1.0, so I think 0.7 and 0.8. Okay. Other than that, special ed co-op does offer services, so do we. We do here too. We offer ESY for students that qualify. That will be in July and August is ESY here at Pelican Rapid Schools, elementary and high school. Fall workshop update. Got a couple things to iron out here for fall workshop. For the district workshop, we're working on the afternoon schedule for our support staff. Got a couple trainings that we're trying to set up for them. Other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. Just a reminder that we'll have the fall picnic on that Monday, the August 25th, the staff picnic, and we'll talk more about that when in August at the school board meeting. 25-26 planning, our big rocks here coming up. It's been very busy. June's been very busy with a lot of meetings, a lot of wrap up with administration, staff, technology, food service, those types of meetings. Hoping to finish up with some of our meetings for cleanup of the last school year here by mid-July. We're also planning for next school year. So we also have negotiations here this summer. We start with teacher negotiations and then support staff, work with support staff, and then administration after that. So it'll be a busy few months of negotiations for staff. Policy committee, expect policy committee members probably late July, August. So we'll be working on our policies, updating them. Next item would be for marketing. We're gonna have a marketing presentation in July. Our marketing team's been working hard the last couple months on our summer advertisement and newsletters and brochures, items like that, but we'll present in July to give you more details on that. Long range plan, this past school year we completed our enrollment analysis, and then this coming school year we'll be working on a needs assessment, and we'll do a work session in the fall to discuss needs assessment, what that would look like, and go from there, kind of a timeline with that. So we'll do a work session probably, I'm guessing, October, November. Hoping to get most of the negotiations completed by mid-fall. It's kind of our goal with everyone. So, and then we'll focus on needs assessment starting in the fall. Agenda items. A few acknowledgements on today's agenda with resignations. Again, thank you to Mr. Sturdivant, Mr. Schaefer, Carlos Gutierrez resigned from assistant wrestling coach. Thank you to Carlos for all his work and time. Mr. Nelson talked about Ms. Berg and resignation. We have a few hires. Looking at custodial, Mr. Steve's talked a little bit about that. There's some staff there in custodial, they're only doing a couple days a week. So they're working together. Club Vikes hires and kitchen staff for the summer, and then summer rec staff to hire, so. Mr. Martinez talked about audit engagement letter, approving, accepting donations, that's the monthly that we do for groups, people that have donated money to the district or groups. School board meeting schedule for the upcoming school year, what we tried to do is looked at all our dates, and then we looked at the activities schedule from all our activities, and from including scholarship night and things like that. So what we did is try to make sure that the dates worked for everyone that have kids involved in different activities here on the school board. So that's what we started with, and then the summertime would be in the morning, and then starting in September, we'd go back to the evening. I believe that's all I have.
Any questions? Okay, want to hear any questions? Thank you. We're gonna move on to consent items. Approve board meeting minutes, May 19th, 2025, regular school board meeting. B, financial claims, April and May bills. C, treasurer's report for April and May. D, personnel, acknowledge the resignation of Hayden Sturdivant as social studies teacher at the high school. Acknowledge the resignation as Hayden Sturdivant as assistant football coach at the high school. Acknowledge the resignation of Carlos Gutierrez as assistant wrestling coach at the high school. Acknowledge the resignation of Anissa Berg as special education paraprofessional at the elementary. Acknowledge resignation of Cody Schaefer as English teacher at the high school. Acknowledge the resignation of Cody Schaefer as head boys track coach at the high school. And acknowledge the resignation of Cody Schaefer as assistant girls basketball coach at the high school. Approve the hire of the following summer staff. We have Club Vikes, Zaylee Arrow, Raina Davis, Lisa Eppard, Maria Poblano, Antonio Manton, Colin Holland, Grady Larson. Custodial, we have Marty Carlson, Tara Fitzsimmons, Todd Huseby, Jenna Nava Pixley, Haley Peasley, Dave Shosted, Mitch Verdorn, Connie Wyfall, and Carson Weirs. Kitchen, we have Lizzie Brendenbuell, Tina Jensen, and Ashley Olson. Summer rec, we have Zayla Arrow, Ian Bakken, Chelsea Blakeway, Carla Breen, David Dewey, Brendan Hansen, Emma Hansen, Hunter Hansen, Amber Henniger, Drew Holt, Desmond Lear, Jan-Eric Lindberg, Parker Lip, Michaela Moen, Hannah Nelson, Naomi Peter, Phoebe Peter, Linnea Thomas, Myron Thomas, Madison Beeger, and Tristan Wall. Hopefully I didn't butcher those two.
Good job.
Okay. And I just approved the audit engagement letter with Ike Bailey for the 2024-2025. So do we have a motion for the consent items?
Make that motion.
Motion by Andrew,
I'll second it.
second by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the consent items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We gotta stop, we gotta do this as a roll call, I'm sorry. Sorry, Molly. So this is a roll call vote, so all those in favor of approving the consent items signify by saying aye, and this will be by roll call, so we'll start with Andrew.
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Aye.
Stacy? Craig?
Aye.
Consent items carried. Business items. Item A, approve the resolution accepting donations. Do we have a motion and a second for that? And then I'll read the resolution.
I'll move to approve the resolution accepting donations.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Greg, second by Stacy. So this is a resolution accepting donations, whereas every such acceptance shall be by resolution of the governing board adopted by a 2/3 majority of its members expressing such terms in full. Therefore be it resolved that the school board of Pelican Rapids Public Schools, ISD 548, gratefully accept the following donations as identified below. So we have Laura Klimick, She donated $100 to student accounts and also another $100 to the Viking Boutique. Kathy Bergen, $20 to the High School Scholarship Fund in memory of Tammy Rosted. Here's Lisa Pesnick, $20, the High School Scholarship Fund in memory of Paul Sturtevant. And MVM Contracting, $1,000 to the PRHS softball team. So this is a resolution, so Andrew, how do you resolve?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Resolution carries. B, approve the 27 fiscal year long-term facilities maintenance plan. And Mr. Martinez, do we need to word this one any
No,
differently?
just approve the LTFM plan, that's all we need.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2027 fiscal year long-term facilities maintenance plan.
Okay, motion by Brenda, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Andrew. Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. This will be by roll call, so Andrew?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
Aye. Stacy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Those opposed, same, that carries. Approve, item C, approve the 2025-26 fiscal year proposed budget. Do we have a motion?
I will make the motion to approve the 2025-2026 fiscal year proposed budget.
Okay, motion by Andrew, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Stacy. Any discussion on the proposed budget? Okay, hearing no discussion, this will be roll call again. All those in favor of approving the proposed budget signify by saying aye, and this will be a roll call. So Andrew?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Stacy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Carries. Item D, approve the 2025 school board meeting schedule. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 school board meeting schedule.
Motion by Brenda, do we have a second?
Second that.
Second by Greg. Any discussion on how those dates look for the board? And that's kind of what we've done in the past, right, so, okay. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the meeting schedule signify by saying aye. Let's be our roll call, so Andrew?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Stacy?
Aye.
And Greg?
Aye.
Carries. So that concludes our business items, so we have upcoming meetings, so we have the July meeting, and that'll be
July 23rd.
July 23rd, 7 AM. And the August meeting is August 20th at 7 AM. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Andrew, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Stacy, any discussion? This will be a roll call again, but all those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Greg?
Aye.
Stacy?
Aye.
Aye. Molly?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Molly.